Hey, Gator Nation, welcome back to the Respect Our Decision podcast. It's another great week, guys. We got a lot to talk about. The boys are out there practicing, man. We got a lot of things going on. Not so much recruiting news. Recruiting kind of slow right now, but football's right around the corner, man. We want to talk a little bit about how this team is looking so far and how y'all feel about it, man. But as always, go make sure you go ahead and download us wherever you get your podcast from. And if you're watching us now on the YouTube channel, your first time checking us out, or maybe you have seen us before and you kind of like what you see, go ahead, drop a subscribe on the channel, man. It helps us a great deal. Drop a like on the video. Leave us a comment down below, man. Tell us how you feel about this team right now. And are your expectations higher than they were maybe a few weeks ago? Let us know below, guys. And as always, you want to go ahead and make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop a comment, because if you do, you will be in the running for this hat from our good friends at Alma Mater, the Swinging Gators golf hat right here. If you're listening on the podcast, you can't see the hat, go check it out at Alma Mater, man. It's a great looking hat. And we're going to be giving that away at the end of the month, man, right after the games have started playing. We'll hit those out to you, man. So make sure you do all those things, and you will be entered in the giveaway. Guys, like I said, not a whole lot going on in recruiting. It's the dead period right now. So not a whole lot of news other than maybe the fact that our man Wardell Mack might be committing here shortly before his season begins. Right now it's between us, LSU, and Texas. But that's about it. I mean, of course, there might be some weekly Jeremiah Smith rumors out there floating around the rumor sphere. Don't buy into them. Don't worry about it. Just let that happen and, be pleasantly surprised if it does. But, guys, we're going to talk some real football right now, man. We're gonna talk about the boys that are going to be playing this season and how they've looked so far. We got our first look this weekend, at the open practice that we had. CJ, I'm going to start with you, man. What were your impressions that you saw from the open practice that you really liked coming out of that?
There's a lot of pretty good execution, just doing the simple stuff right. I think that was like the main thing. They're not going to show you everything in the open practice, of course. There's a lot of stuff that the staff has alluded to knowing about this team and things that this team has been able to do that they have not shown yet, or have not, that everybody doesn't know about. A lot of good stuff from Graham Mertz. Graham is doing a really good job at the way he's throwing the football right now, and looking at his game film is, again, it's nothing that is going to jump off the page and say, "Wow, that guy's got a cannon of an arm," or "Wow, that guy can run the 40 time faster than anybody else," or anything like that we would marvel at with Anthony Richardson. It's the complete opposite of just being able to do the simple stuff right, where he's putting the ball for the receiver. It's not like behind them. It's kind of where they can run and make a play under it. They've got a little room to work out in front of him. He's not throwing balls that look like they're going to get somebody killed. He's not throwing a lot of hospital balls or anything like that, which is always the fear with me. We saw a lot of great stuff from the backup, Mr. Max Brown. He looks like he's pretty good, and I think he's gonna kind of wedge himself into that number 2 spot, just based on what I've seen. Going through practice, but there's a lot of good stuff out there. Eugene Wilson has been absolutely unguardable from what I've seen. The guy's absolutely tearing it up. There are a few plays where we saw him match up with guys like Sharif Denson, and Sharif Denson did a very good job at covering him. So that's encouraging to see. The DB assessments that the defensive back coach Raymond made, were pretty on the nose from what we're seeing right now. So I think there's a lot to be happy with this team. And of course, they're playing on air. You're playing in pajamas. I get it. You can't really, you don't know exactly what it's going to really look like, and you won't know until we get to Utah. So, temper expectations there. But from the stuff that we can see, that we can get excited about, a lot of stuff looks really good on the field right now with what they're doing.
Yeah, I was really impressed with some of the video clips that a lot of people were putting stuff out. A lot of people showed out for that practice, There was a lot of video put out there by fans and media alike. So you got a lot of different angles and perspective on things. I was very, very pleased with the quarterback's throws that we got to see, whether it be Graham Mertz and Max Brown looked really good as well. Was very impressed with some of the throws I saw Max made, and the fact that he was running a lot of that practice with the twos was kind of a surprise as well. Now I know those two guys, they're going to rotate in and out. I know that people are saying that coach is about to make his choice on the quarterback, controversy that doesn't exist. But really impressed with Eugene Wilson. Like you said, Eugene looks fantastic. Oh my goodness. Andy Jean just continues to look like everything we've heard. Wes, what were some of your takeaways from Saturday?
Listening to all the reporters and the stuff you hear through the grapevine and everything, I'll hit on a number of some things. The first, some you guys kind of hit on, like Max Brown emergence as maybe the number 2 QB. We all think that Mertz is going to be that guy. And to talk about Mertz, there's a lot of more optimism from these reporters who were actually there and who have more insider stuff that maybe we can get to, people that they talk to, that he has more command of the offense from now than he had in spring, which is, of course, is going to be the thing. I heard Nick Del Torre say that Barber say that when he goes to the facility, Mertz is already there. When he leaves the facility, Mertz is still there. And that's what you want from that type of guy that's going to be your leader, your quarterback, your QB1. You want him to be the first guy in, the last guy to leave, and he's showed that. And you want that. And everybody is kind of like, say, man, not saying that he's Kyle Trask, not saying that he's Tim Tebow or any of our great quarterbacks that led us to championships or SEC titles, but you see the work that he's putting in and the consistency of him getting more knowledge of the offense. People forget that this guy has played a number of years in college football, so he has experience, and it was, to me, just learning the offense, because we saw people open last year and wonder why, because AR was inexperienced, he missed some throws. So I'm happy with seeing the growth of Mertz, and I'm happy to see that we have a backup quarterback just in case something catastrophic happens that we don't want to happen. We want Mertz to play all year if he's going to be the type of quarterback that we hope he can be. But to see Max Brown take the reins and say, okay, I'm going to challenge Jack Miller, who was here, and do the thing that he was doing is key. My concern was offensive line. Has always been, I heard a lot of good things about Najee Harris. He came in as a center, but he's been playing a lot of guard. And maybe the injury to Mazuko is kind of a blessing in disguise for him, because he's been getting a lot of PT, and he's been doing a lot with those opportunities as Najee Harris. And, I've been my pick to click, as they say, has been Frazier's. But I've been hearing a lot of stuff about Burke. I've been hearing a lot of stuff about Douglas. And I want the freshman wide receivers to play. But if you look at Ricky, Douglas, and Burke, they have the seniority, and they played, not Burke, but Douglas played a fair amount last year. We know who Ricky is. But if Burke is going to be who we all thought he was maybe 4 years ago when we came into the class as a speedster, I've heard he's gotten bigger. I've heard the speed was always there. It was always about the hands. Douglas had a few drops. He was a true freshman last year trying to prove himself. But to see the wide receiver depth seem to grow with the freshmen that we know are behind those three receivers is a plus to me as well. So I'm not even talking about the defense right now. I'm assuming they're going to be better. I know everybody is, to me, as far as fans, we want to make sure the offense is what it is. The running backs are as advertised. I know you guys are high on Carroll. I was kind of high on ETN, maybe breaking 1,000 yards along with Montreal Johnson, but everything says what you guys have alluded to, that there's no way we can keep Carroll off the field. Carroll is that dude. So, I'm just happy with what I've been seeing. And I told you guys this, and I'm going to wrap it up here, but I'm going to ask you guys this question before Hurst goes on. You guys kind of, how I am about my peak. You guys have had your your feelings about how the season might play. And we're gonna do predictions in a couple of weeks before the season starts. Have these open practices and this scrimmage, has it kind of given you more optimism or expectations for the season, or are you guys still where you were at before these practices started?
I would say yes. I'm a lot more optimistic now that I've actually seen these pieces in motion and heard and read some of the things that we've seen. One of the guys we haven't really talked about, Arlis Boardingham, really looked the part. People that saw him what I heard the most was he's going to be a problem. He's a mismatch opportunity whenever he's on the field. Very Kyle Pitts like. I mean, obviously, you don't want to sit there and compare the kid to Kyle Pitts. He hasn't done anything. But body-wise and what he is able to do reminds people of Kyle Pitts. So you're looking at a lot more weapons to me than what you saw last year. You're looking, from what we've heard so far, at capable quarterback play, which is what we've asked for the whole time with Graham Mertz since we heard he was going to be here. Was we just need him to play, capable, to be a game manager. He doesn't need to. I don't need him to go out there and throw for 350 yards. I'm hoping he's not having to. I mean, obviously.
Exactly.
And what I've seen from the defensive linemen, especially those two boys on the inside, that's where my real encouragement comes from. Because let's not make any mistakes about it. Teams could gash us last year at will, especially in the second half when the guys got tired. We know Dexter was worn down from the jump. I mean, the damn kid was in there, like we said, week 1 with Utah. It was like, I can't even remember the number of snaps, but it was
like 600 and some total snaps last year.
It was ridiculous.
Stupid.
Not going to happen this year. None of these guys are going to come close. And it's a great rotation of players at that position. And that alone, to me, means your defense is fresher later in games. You're able to rotate playmakers in for playmakers. You don't have downs where you've got guys out there that you maybe don't have faith in. To me, that's a real difference. CJ?
My expectation again has been, I've really been optimistic. Like I've always been optimistic about the team. I'm always looking forward to it. I'm always thinking we're heading in the right direction based on what I've seen. But my expectations for this season have been really tempered. I'm not too high. I understand where we're at as a program. I'm not, this guy who's going to sit here and beat the table and say we're going to go 9-3, anything like that. But I feel a little better watching what I've seen is like, okay, we do have some guys that have come into the program. They've caught on really fast. We've got a quarterback who's been in college for 4 years now, looking like he understands that. And there's a lot of things when it comes to a quarterback like Graham Mertz that from being able to work the snap count as opposed to how maybe Anthony Richardson could work the snap count. Once you have guys who've been here very long and they've been able to do that kind of stuff, that's invaluable. If you force one offsides a game, that's you're changing things as the quarterback position. You're gaining 5 yards without having to do anything. So if you can do stuff like that, just with your cadence and understanding how to position and how to catch a defense off guard, that's invaluable. It's really important. So things like that have always been what I look forward to with Graham Mertz is it's just being experienced, understanding the game, being around long, knowing those kind of veteran aspects. Watching him play now, I had my kind of doubts as far as, is he going to be able to complete passes further down the field? I think that was the one thing. When you start getting that 20 plus, I started, kind of get a little worried. I wasn't worried about him throwing a 10-yard drag or a 5-yard slant or anything like that. I could see him do that, and that's no problem. It was those, okay, well, we've got guys on the outside that are going to be able to shake and get open, and we need somebody who can hit them. I'm not saying he's got to meet them at the goal line, but he's at least got to be able to hit them, not underthrow them. And what I've seen, we're not going to have a problem. I think that as long as he's got a clean pocket and he's not getting killed and he's able to actually throw. I think he can make the passes. Again, we're not going to look to him to do that the whole game. We're not going to run 4 verticals and just let him chuck the ball all over the field or anything like that. So that's not it. I was just like, can he do the thing when he needs to? Can he make the play when it calls for it? Because there was a couple of times in the spring game you saw him kind of miss on some big plays. I think, you look back at his Wisconsin days, there were some times where there were plays to be had that were missed on. Very few in between, because Wisconsin, again, no offense to them, but their fan base even knows that the way they were set up at the time, the offense they were running, they really didn't have any great athletes outside of the running back position, the tight end position. That was about it for Wisconsin. So they kind of understood what they were doing. They're trying to change that now. So I think that Mertz has shown me that, okay, this guy can get it in check. He can lead an offense. The team has bought into him. They believe he's their leader. He's their captain. And that's one of the one things you worry about when you insert a new quarterback into a team that isn't, they're not familiar with him originally. He's not the guy that they've been playing with for 2-3 years. This is a new guy. Can he come in and get the locker room to buy in? And by all accounts, all the players that he's playing with say he's our leader. We believe in Graham. He pushes us. He's the kind of guys, the first one in the building, last one to leave, which is super important to gain respect in the quarterback position. So I feel better knowing where we're at. I feel like we're going to be very competent. That's the one thing I worried about. I was just like, just play competent football, control the things you can control, do the small things right. And I think with our team, the way it's set up, if you can do those things, and we saw it last year, if you were able to capitalize on doing more of the simple things correctly, you would have seen an addition of maybe +2 wins last year, just based on doing some simple things correctly. So with the advent of that and the defensive line being able to step it up, I already love the ends. The ends, I'm not worried about. Those guys are ridiculous. They're maulers. Those were never going to be the issue. The issue was, can that front middle defensive tackle, those 2 nose tackles, can those guys be able to play? Now we've got depth there. We've got guys that are ready to go. You're not killing Big Dez. He's not playing 95% of the snaps, which is ridiculous for a guy like him. Now you have Banks there, and you have Cameron Jackson, and you've got Tyreek Sapp, and you've got Chris McClellan, and you've got Will Norman, and you've got all these guys to move around inside there with Kelby Collins on the edge and Uman Mielen. So these guys look the part. You're going to be able to force some pressure, and that's the main thing that we're going to have to look for on the defense, because if you can play well on the front end, you're not going to get killed on the back end so much, and help out some of that inexperience we have in the secondary.
I'm going to have you guys at 10-2 before the season starts. Go ahead.
You ain't going to give me the 10-2.
I mean, and to be fair, this happens every year, right? Your expectations for the team in
a roller coaster.
In the spring are extremely different from where they're at like preseason, because we're getting excited, right? We're finally seeing guys get pads on, hit somebody, throw the football. Everything's beautifully edited. You don't see you really don't see how the sausage is being made. You just see the finished product. So you get really excited, and that's just part of it. That's just what happens. So we're just getting excited. We get caught up in things. So again, I try to keep a level head here, because I don't want to get too much in the bag, be like, Heisman Mertz, and we gonna go 10-2. It's just
playoffs.
It's nature of the
in the
beast.
playoffs and all that. Don't worry about it. Gotcha. Go ahead, Hirsch. My bad.
This schedule is tough, and we know that. Okay, and that's not an excuse. It's a fact. Every metric out there that shows the strength of schedule, if we're not number one, we're real close to it. So I mean, obviously the schedule's a challenge, but I mean, things are lining up for a good start. I mean, you go to Utah. There's rumors now Cam Rising is not on track, which I thought was going to be a push to begin with, having recovered from multiple ACL injuries myself. But, that was a while ago. Technology is advanced. Athletes are advanced now. I mean, but, one of the things about Rising that was always his strength was his mobility, and that was always going to be in question regardless. So that lines up. That lines up for it kind of levels the playing field, even though we're at their house, so you just have to see how you come out the gate. These kids are going to be hyped. They've seen everybody out there predicting them to finish either next to last in the East or, y'all are going to go 3-7. I mean, these kids have seen that. They've heard it. Fans on Twitter and whatnot are tweeting at them all the time. You guys are trash. We own this state. You guys aren't going to do crap this year. Billy's on the hot seat. All this trash that these people say, of which none of it carries a bit of weight. The only thing that I remotely put any stock to on this planet is that Vegas had the Gators at 5.5 wins. And the reason I put stock in that is Vegas gets it right more than they get it wrong. And but they get it wrong too. I mean, there's a lot of factors, but let's talk for a minute about, we mentioned him a second ago. You mentioned him, Wes, with Mazuka being out. That was the positive news of today. If you haven't heard already, Micah Mazuka shed his non-contact jersey today and was back full go at practice. I think he's a little ahead of schedule where they thought he might be when he initially got injured. Some were saying he wouldn't be ready for week 1, but there we go. Of course, he was practicing in a non-contact jersey up until this point. So that is fantastic news if you're a Gator fan. That means your starting 5 offensive linemen are out there. They're practicing together. They're gelling as a unit. One guy that's missing, if you hadn't heard, was Lindell Hudson, the transfer from FIU. That young man, I had not even realized that. This had slipped under my radar, that young man had been in a car accident a week ago and was in concussion protocol. So he has not practiced since like the first day of practice. But, they think he's okay, and he's just working his way back. Whenever you have that, scare of a concussion, you don't rush that kind of thing. A couple other guys we need to talk about just from the injury standpoint. Since we did the show last week, obviously, Shamar James got injured and had the MRI done on his leg, which showed no structural damage. Coach said it was probably a week to 10-day kind of thing. So that's very positive news. Anytime you have a non-contact knee injury, your fears turn to the worst. Shamar seems to be okay. They keep checking it. Obviously, this is where the new facilities and the state-of-the-art, things that we have to get these injured guys the treatments that they need, the cryotherapy, just all the different things they have going on in there really get put to work. A few other guys that were, non-contact today. Caleb Douglas had a non-contact jersey on. Miguel Mitchell, Trey Webb, and Scooby Williams all had non-contact. I can't remember.
I think Jason Marshall did as well.
I didn't see Jason Marshall, but I know that Devin Moore was not at practice again today as he's dealing with what they call an upper body injury. I know Ricky had missed Saturday because there was a COVID bug going around in the building. So I don't know if maybe Devin's got that as well, and they're just not putting it out there. I know they're kind of still funny with how they enlist that. I haven't heard anything to speculate that it's anything to worry about. They're just treating him to make sure he's ready to go. Jadon Hill was not at practice today as well. That was another young man that missed practice today. Reasons not currently specified. Obviously, these things are just kind of hit and miss. Cameron Waits has been out there just working out steadily as he comes back from a ruptured Achilles. No timetable on that young man. I would not expect that kid to probably play this year, but if he does, it's a bonus. He's a big-bodied young man. You'd love for him to get some playing time at some point this season. But anytime you're a guy that big coming back from a ruptured Achilles, man, that's, you got to tiptoe around that. There's just everybody's getting bumped up a little bit as pads come on. Guys start to get injured. I think the staff is going to be very protective of some of these guys that when they get hurt. I'm not saying that, just because you're in a non-contact jersey, don't sit there and think, oh, what's wrong with him? Is it serious injury? it's probably not much anything. They just want to make sure that he comes back from the injury at a good pace without pushing himself too hard or taking any unnecessary shots. That's just smart coaching. I mean, we still got a few weeks to go.
Yeah. You don't want to have an aggravation of like a hamstring or something that turns into a full blown thing when you're this close to the season start. And that's the thing with Mazuka, which I'm thrilled that he's out of the non-contact jersey. And his is the opposite of like a hamstring or a sore ankle or something. He like had surgery, and when things like that happen, you have surgery. It's done. You continue to get stronger. It's not something like, oh, if he goes right back out there, he's going to be injured. It's not like a hamstring or anything like that. So I'm fine with Mazuka. They're easing him back in. That's not something like I just said, like a hamstring or groin injury or something like that, where boom, you go back out there and you're on the field or something, and you may re-injure, come back to some. He's going to heal properly because he actually had surgery. So thrilled to have him, because I'm still concerned with the offensive line, having him back as the depth to push guys like Najee Harris and Richard Leonard, and keeping him at right guard and that thing. So I'm happy there, but having Mazuka back is a huge deal.
Yeah, him getting injured kind of like lost him in the shuffle of how important it was to get him, how big of a get he was for us in the offseason. In the portal, the guy was the second best guard behind the guy we had, which is the first best guard, Mr. Torrance. So, that was a massive addition. He gets injured, and then I think he kind of gets lost. Like, people just kind of, he's hurt, he's not playing, you don't see him, you don't hear about him. There was a whole all-season fiasco that's between him and the coach. I don't have anything to do with that, but that was a whole, bag of worms. But he's important to the team. A guy like him is a massive addition to the team.
Yes.
It's really going to help the run game. It's going to help keep Graham Mertz off his butt. That's the main thing, is you want to have guys like him that really help out that offensive line, because we need it in a big way this year. We need the offensive line to perform well, because as the offensive line goes, the team's going to go. And he's a veteran presence on that line. I mean, the guy's one of the best in college football based on the numbers. So having him back is wonderful. I mean, it's amazing how fast they were able to rehab him, get him in shape, get him ready to play football again. What guys weren't expecting to see him till maybe we played Tennessee or Kentucky. They didn't have him coming back this soon. So that's a really good job by the staff and the medical trainers and everything else to get him back on the field and ready to play.
It speaks to him as well as to his frame of mind and where he's at. That young man pushed himself to do what needed to be done. Kept, like CJ said, there was a little bit of a hiccup there right after he got hurt. And I think he got cleared up with that. Coach sat him down, and then he went to work and said, all right, we're going to be ready. We're going to be ready week 1. So kudos to that young man for pushing through it. Yeah, Wes?
One thing I will say, and that I asked you guys in this, I don't know if we rotate someone in to replace him, but it's a difference between him being in shape and being in football shape. We all know that no matter what sport you're playing, as far as you can lift weights, you can run, but to actually do it for 4 quarters, or for whatever sport it is, or play 9 innings in baseball, your conditioning matters. Do you think somebody might rotate with him early, or is it a good thing that he's starting 2 weeks beforehand? That way he can get himself. I mean, we know Florida's hot right now. Like, as far as the temperature, that can get him into football shape, because
he's been out there practicing. He just hasn't been able to be in contact. So he's been running the gassers and all that kind of stuff. He's been running with the team. He just like we're saying, they couldn't hit him in the shoulder pads and things like that and make contact with him. So he's ready to go. I have no doubt in that. Guys, I want to talk about one other thing that I saw this week that really got me excited about the offense this year. And it doesn't take a whole lot, but I saw videos of the running backs running angle routes out of the backfield. We took for granted for years our running backs catching passes out of the backfield and what the dynamic it adds to an offense. And then you saw last year when you didn't have it, how much you really miss that. Because, I mean, with a guy, you know, sure, I'd like to see Montrell Johnson catch a swing pass or an angle route with some blockers out in front. But you start doing this with Trevor Etienne, and, man, this offense, once again, we're talking about a simple, you know, check down route or a simple, you know, just a 5-yard route that Graham Mertz should be hitting all day long that we didn't see a lot of last year. You start getting, especially Trevor, in the space like that with the ball, and I think this offense really picks up a whole nother notch. Not even talking about, like we said before, if we can get Arliss Boardingham in the tight end room going. So the more I see this, coupled with the videos of Eugene Wilson, I'm really encouraged that, you know, we rumored for a while last year that we had not seen Billy's full offense. We talked about it back and forth that maybe it was just what AR could handle. It wasn't necessarily what all, you know, everybody's like, oh, Billy's only got 6 plays. I mean, we heard that forever and ever and ever. But now you start seeing little wrinkles, and maybe Billy didn't want that wrinkle out there. I don't, you know, that's part of what happens when you only, you know, media's out there for a few minutes. Maybe you save that one until after they leave. But Wes, real quick, the one more last thing before we get done with this show is I want you to talk about what kind of numbers do you see this offense kind of putting up? What kind of production do you actually see this offense possibly putting up?
I see, hopefully, that with the experience that Mertz has as far as playing QB, I think we can be a middle of the pack team. I think our defense would be. I think our defense would be better than our offense. I think maybe we can have a top 25 defense and maybe middle of the pack as far as offense. And the stuff that you alluded to was seeing the receivers, Eugene Wilson, Ricky Pearsall. We all saw that as those guys line up in the backfield. That's a plus. Anytime you can check the ball down to your explosive backs and let them get the opportunities to make plays is a plus. You're not going to be able to run against Georgia. I don't care how good our running backs are. You're not going to run against them. Alabama, you're not going to run against them. I watch football faithfully all the time. Come on YouTube, watch old games. I saw Clemson play Ohio State. ETN couldn't get going. You know what the offensive coordinator for Clemson did? Give him the ball on the screen and let him get in open space. Not our ETN, but the brother that played at Clemson. And he made plays against Ohio State in that championship game. That playoff game to get Clemson to the championship. You have to put your best players in a position to make plays. Sometimes you got to be creative with getting them the ball. And excuse me, I hope that we're able to do that. I hope that we're able to do that. And I think we will see more because it's not that Mercer is a better quarterback than AR per se. We don't know that yet. But I think he has more experience of playing more football than AR, and maybe he can handle more because he's seen more defense and knows how to handle different things, especially spitting out verbiage to all 10 other guys. So I think I just hope our offense can be middle of the pack.
CJ, do you agree?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to say that the defense is going to be better than the offense. I sure would love to see that. But they're going to have to show me that because it's just a position where we've watched the defense be so bad for so long. I'm going to have to see that next step. I know we've got the guys. I love the way we've tooled the linebackers, the defensive line. I'm still kind of worried about the secondary. Just a lot of young guys back there. These freshmen are still going to make freshman mistakes. But the offense, again, we don't really have – anybody who's like, we don't have a whole bunch of big time guys that are NFL draft prospects. Nobody's putting our offensive guys in top 10 lists or anything like that. Maybe the running backs, Ricky Pearsall, we love Ricky Pearsall, but Ricky Pearsall isn't going to get the mainstream media attention. And then, after Ricky Pearsall, it's, a bunch of freshmen. And we love Andy Jean, and we love Trey, and we love Mizell and those guys. But those guys they're freshmen. They've got a lot to prove. They got a lot to step up. They're playing real big boy football this year. So there's going to be a learning curve. I think the offense can do well. I think middle of the SEC is definitely a spot. I think if you put us about the fifth, sixth best offensive team in the SEC, that would be really good for us. You could be there for sure. And I think that, again, using the running backs out of the backfield to kind of open up the passing game would be very important. It would help out a lot because you can kind of get so much of that congestion out of the middle of the defense and kind of move it out some so you can open up some more lanes to run through. Because if they just know you're running the ball, then everybody's just attacking and you can't run on it. So we watched teams like we watched Vanderbilt stuff the run game last year because they knew what we were going to do. So they could just load the box and kill us. So you're going to have to be able to take those running backs now and say, okay, well, Trevor Etienne isn't exactly running the ball the best today, but let's try to throw him some passes. Now we're going to take it to the position where they can take some angle routes or some swing routes or some wheel routes or just a simple, curl back screen, something like that let them get in space. And again, that opens up the middle of the field again. So you've got guys to kind of ebb and flow and change the defensive positioning where they can't just pigeonhole you into one spot. And you're forced to, you're kind of just like the woodpecker in the petrified forest, just knocking your head, but you're not going anywhere. So definitely, I could see us taking a step as far as being a more efficient offense. I don't know if we're going to be as explosive. When you have a guy like Anthony Richardson, you've added an element to Anthony Richardson has the potential to make a touchdown on a play all by himself in a game because he's that kind of guy. And this year you don't really have that, but you have the potential to be a lot more concise, a lot cleaner on offense. You don't have you're not going to do as many of the easy things wrong. So I think that could definitely put us in the middle of the pack, a safe offense, an offense that can get the job done, an offense that isn't going to put 500 yards up passing. Maybe Graham Mertz throws for 150 yards, but if you win the game 24-20, who cares? You did your job. That's the main thing. We're not all, we're not out here looking for the stats. We just want to win the game. We want to win on the scoreboard. So that's kind of where I see us playing this year. You just do stuff like that. Do the simple stuff right. I'm not looking for ESPN top 10 highlights. It's not the point of the offense. So I think as far as we might not look as explosive, but I think if you break down the numbers, we're going to be about on par with a little less mistakes.
More third down conversions.
I promise you, if we're winning a game, if we beat Kentucky 24-20 or whatever, our Raw Reaction show will not be filled with a whole lot of complaints on Sundays. I'm sure we'll be able to find, hey, maybe a couple less penalties, or hey, that turnover could have cost us this, that, or the other. But yeah, if you give me a 24-20 win 8-9 times this season, I'll be cool in the gang, man. Because that's growth. I mean, that'll be growth, and that means the defense has played the way we need them to play. But we'll talk more about defense next week. I really wanted to focus on some of the offensive things we saw this week because they show a little bit easier in these situations that we've seen in these open practices and whatnot before the pads came on fully. The offense can obviously shine a little bit more. You saw the passes, the short passes, the medium passes, the long, some long passes. And of course, just these wide receivers catching and going, man. And that's what's exciting right now. It's just the feeling that we've got weapons that we haven't had in many years. We got, just fast moving guys out there that we've previously, the last guy we had obviously was Tony. And then before that, it was like nobody. I mean, forever it seemed like. So just encouraging times. I still urge people to just, toe the road for right now. And let's see how things shake out. Continue to pray for these young men's health and their safety out there on the field, and that they just get through camp, without anybody majorly being hurt or anything like that. So far, so good. We hope. I know Billy's not going to put it all out there for us, but I'm encouraged, man. I'm really encouraged with what I've seen. I'm really encouraged with the possibilities that this team has, and I hope we keep seeing it, man. That's all we can ask for, is we just show some continued growth, and hopefully this season surprises a whole lot of people, not just Gator fans. CJ, you got anything to add before we get out of here?
Just know, thank you guys for always supporting us as creators. You've done a really good job with YouTube. Check out the giveaway for the Swinging Gator golf hat. All you do is like, subscribe, leave a comment down below on one of the videos this month, and you're going to be entered to win. You guys have done a great job in the past. We expect you to keep doing a great job. You really helped us grow this channel, so thank you for that so much. Again, check us out on the Twitter or the X, whatever you want to call it now. Check us out on the Facebook group. There's a lot of people over there, a lot of interaction going over there. People posting things, talking. Wes is posting videos over there for you guys. The questions and the interactions are pretty thorough over there with a lot of people, especially with football season ramping up. So a lot of you guys are jumping on over there. We really appreciate that. Just again, make sure you're following us individually on Twitter. Check out our friends at Alma Mater. They've got that sweet new Pell logo black hat that looks really good, that I see a lot of people buying. They really like that thing. We're going to have the blackout this year, so get your black gear ready for that Arkansas game. It just be excited. It's an exciting time. We've got a few weeks coming. We've got the Swamp Kings documentary coming out in a couple weeks. The Manziel dropped today, so you guys, we're having fun over there. There's a lot of great things going on. We're planning on doing something fun for you guys for the Swamp Kings documentary with us, just getting ready for football season, because it will be a week out when it drops. So, but just keep looking out for that. We thank you so much for your support. You guys are doing a great job. We really appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts.
Yes, we do. Send us home, Wes.
Yeah, make sure you guys stay tuned. Hirsch already talked about what we talk about next week. We also have a scrimmage. I think this will be our last scrimmage, if I'm not mistaken. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, on Friday, I believe. So we'll have some updates on that and what we see. Hirsch already said we'll be talking about the defense next week. Probably going to, of course, everybody loves offense, so we're going to discuss some nuggets from the offense as well. See some guys who continue to go improve their stock. And we appreciate you guys. We got some things special for the lineup for the end of the season, the beginning of the season, the end of the month, as far as our predictions and stuff. So you guys stay tuned. I'm going to get Hirsch and CJ on this train to the playoffs with me before it's all said and done. I promise you guys that we going to the playoffs together. So, but other than that, appreciate you guys for all the love, support you guys give us. Join our Facebook group with the chat. Hirsch does a good job of interacting with you guys as far as commentary. CJ and me, we come in every now and then. Hirsch is good with talking to you guys on there. So, but anyway, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And as always, go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators, baby. Catch you next week.